now. A couple, they are offering $12,500 off on select new pickups. That is not a mistake. You heard right. $12,500 off list price right now on select new pickups. Those discounted units, though, will not last long. These are all manager specials. You have to come in now, so hurry in down 144th Street or shop online at couplecars.com. You'll be glad you did. Stock number G3566093 must trade.
Your child was embarrassed when you arrived at their basketball game. 75% of parents or guardians report current alcohol use. Drinking alcohol can cause harm to children and loved ones. By drinking less, your child will be excited to see you at their basketball game. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Rain, snow, or shine, John Henry's is here to keep your home's plumbing systems working properly no matter what kind of weather Nebraska throws at us. From unclogging toilets and drains to installing new water heaters and water treatment systems, John Henry's is your plumbing expert in the Lincoln and Omaha communities. Visit us at calljh.com or call
John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
For 15 years, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been helping Lincoln become healthier, happier, and more fit through our proven combination of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. And to celebrate 15 years of success, we're offering you 50% off our next 10-week challenge beginning September 14th. That's 10 weeks of fun group fitness classes and individualized coaching for half off. And at the end of the 10 weeks, someone's walking away with $1,000 for the best transformation. Come check it out. What do you have to lose? Click on the banner at theticketfm.com to learn more. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill or 70th and Vine. And check us out online at fxblincoln.com.
It's the greatest time of the year again. Kickoff is here and football is officially back. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog, and this year you can too. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up with promo code EARLY, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code EARLY to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Looking for a place to relax and unwind after a busy day? Cigars Lounge at 8th and Q in the Haymarket is the perfect place to enjoy good company, a cocktail, and of course a cigar. Visit Cigars Lounge on Tuesdays for Top Shelf Tuesday and enjoy 50% off select spirits. Cigars Lounge offers Perdomo, San Cristobal, Rock Patel, and more of the top stogie brands that you know and love. But that's not all. If you mention this ad between noon and 5 p.m., you'll receive 15% off your entire tab just by mentioning the ticket. Check out Cigars Lounge today at 8th and Q in the Haymarket.
For 15 years, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been helping Lincoln become healthier, happier, and more fit through our proven combination of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. And to celebrate 15 years of success, we're offering you 50% off our next 10-week challenge beginning September 14th. That's 10 weeks of fun group fitness classes and individualized coaching for half off. And at the end of the 10 weeks, someone's walking away with $1,000 for the best transformation. Come check it out. What do you have to lose? Click on the banner at theticketfm.com to learn more. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill or 70th and Vine. And check us out online at fxblincoln.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is the Don't Punt Hour with former Nebraska receiver.
Throwing over the middle, completes the pass. He's got speed to the end zone. Touchdown! 45 yards.
And return specialist.
This time he beats the kicker in one more.
Des Moines Pierson-El.
Not only does the sideline have confidence in Pierson-El, but Pierson-El has confidence in Pierson-El.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome into the Dump Punt Hour. Harrison Arns on the 1s and 2s. It'll be the final time I'm on for Ticket Weeknights, as tonight is Thursday. Tomorrow we'll have more Ticket Weeknights, but Austin Orman will carry things off that first one with the Corner 3. And of course, on Saturday, we will have the Husker football pregame show and postgame as soon as the clock hits 0, as Nebraska's got UNI, the University of Northern Iowa, this Saturday. We're going to dive into that. Before we do that, we do got a couple things we want to talk about. First thing, Nebraska did land a big recruit. And now this isn't breaking news, but we haven't mentioned it yet. Nebraska, they go ahead and land the 4-star prospect out of West Side, the 4-star linebacker, Christian Jones. And I got to say, it's nice to see Nebraska finally recruiting their own grounds once again. It feels like that was a lost thing, and I couldn't explain why. But we're finally getting back to it, and we get another 4-star. Des Moines Pierson-El. What do you make of the 4-star linebacker out of West Side?
He's a baller. He's the type of kid, that you want to keep in state. I think last year with the many of talented kids that actually stayed in state and, came to the university, has laid a foundation. Those kids a lot of those kids. I know Danny knows a lot of those kids, played against them. They all, were on pretty much the same 7-on-7 team. And whatnot. So I mean, it's a good thing because we've seen it in the past that a lot of kids have gone other places and been first round picks, or successful and got got to their second or third contracts in the NFL. So it's a great thing that they're taking care of home is starting to be a huge priority to this staff.
In your opinion, when did that stop? And why did that go away? Ever since the Tom Osborne era really capitalized on it. Mm-hmm. And even in your era with Bo Pelini, Nebraska wasn't really being recruited very heavily, despite that being the home state. I don't know if they just didn't believe there's a lot of talent there. And then got even worse. We go to Mike Riley, probably had the best intentions, but the whole Cali-Nebraska movement was an absolute disaster, getting a bunch of people that aren't going to understand the culture at Nebraska at all. In your opinion, when did that fall off, and why is it taking so long to get back to it?
We had when I was there with Bo, not to say he didn't recruit it, because he did. We had some big time players. Luke Gifford.
Yeah,
he was a big time player. Gerald Foster. So I mean, it's Josh Banderas. B. Riley. Han. They had players, you know what I'm saying?
It just wasn't as heavily recruited, though.
Spencer was from Nebraska. He went and got paid in the NFL, so it's not like he wasn't hitting it. I think they kind of just got away. You bring in with the Riley era, they knew, the Pacific West, that was their knowledge of stuff, and it's different cultures, different things, different. Way to talk to people. Not to say, Riley was wrong or whatnot, but he just had a different philosophy of things. With Frost, with him coming back, I think that reignited a lot of stuff with, kids actually, wanting to come here and wanting to be here. And I think, it was just it was a swing and a miss.
That's understatement, but yeah, go on.
It's just, I don't know exactly the reason to not do it. With Frost, he kind of did the same thing that Riley did, just with Florida. You know what I'm saying? Like they went to Florida and got, a lot of players and everything like that. So I think it's more so coaches might have just been a little bit more comfortable or had a little bit more pools in that area and wasn't technically, really trying. They always had Nebraska, in their back pocket. And I think why some of these other kids early on and in those years didn't come to Nebraska because we weren't winning.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the other part.
They were going to other places and having better opportunity to follow, their dreams for beyond, college football and everything like that. And they made, the best choice for them. Nothing's wrong with that and everything like that. But I mean, you have to be able to win. In the Pelini era, they were winning, so you probably could get about, just about majority of the kids of who you wanted in the state. But was that really high on Bo's list? Maybe not so much. With Rule, I mean, he's dabbling in Texas. He has a foothold in Texas. He's down there a lot. So I mean, each coach has, their own different philosophy, but he's also hitting home heavy. So I think with Nebraska getting back to being successful, I think it makes it, a lot more attractive. I mean, who doesn't want to play in front of their family? Who doesn't want to play in front of, friends and whatnot? I mean, they've, regardless of what people said, they've always grown up, of the dream of playing in that stadium. State football, you play in that, in that stadium and whatnot. So they might get away from it, but I mean, as they were little, I know their fathers probably coached them into it or, pulled them along the way and whatnot. But, that's been a goal. And with Nebraska, making the steps of getting back to being successful, I think you'll start to see a lot more kids, stop kind of looking around and wanting to be here, be a part of that.
Yeah. And I think that was a good point that you brought up earlier. It's also one of those things that's like, well, even like, say we did have some good recruits coming out of Nebraska. Do they want to come and play here? I mean, it felt like the program was kind of slipping a little bit. And if you got NFL aspirations, you're kind of thinking to yourself, man, there hasn't been a lot of consistency there. First in terms of winning and second in terms of coaching, which the two go hand in hand. If you're not winning, the coaching consistency is probably very rough. And why would, I don't blame kids for not wanting to go to a university where it's like, who knows? The coach might be fired in 2 or 3 years. Like, he's saying the right things. He's telling me he believes in me. But I know that if we don't win, I might not have a new head coach.
That situation happened to me, before coming to Nebraska. I knew Bo was in the hot seat. I mean, I didn't think it would have gotten to that, at least, that next year. But I'm like, it is what it is. They believe in me and everything like that. And we were still winning at that point. So that's different, from you coming into a place and they've been losing. They haven't been to a bowl game. The bowl game is what's fun. You get free gifts. You get all types of perk. You go see, different states and whatnot. You play typically in good weather. You play against, another top-ranked team to get, better film for evaluation at the next level. Those were the things that, prior to me coming to Nebraska, they played a South Carolina team that had a Jadeveon Clowney. They played, Georgia, which had, Todd Gurley. So that they were playing, these SEC teams that I'm like, all right, well, I'm not playing in the SEC, but, at least I get to go up and clash against them. They're doing good in the Big Ten. Nebraska wasn't having that these past couple of years, so that's a game changer. That's something that might keep people away, because it's who wants to go somewhere and, honestly lose.
Yeah, you just can't blame them. So it's like, part of it, maybe you can blame the coaches, but the other part of it, it's like the guys they were recruiting, we don't get to see everybody. Who knows how many just said, no, I'd rather not. I see what's been happening over there. It seems like a nightmare of a situation where I might not, say, new head coach, does he keep my wide receiver coach if that's the position I play, etc. Like, there's just a lot of uncertainty, and it's certainly hurt Nebraska. But it is funny. You mentioned Matt Rule, able to get recruits out of Texas. That was the last time Nebraska was really good as well, back in the Big 12 era, where, guess what? We had a nice little pocket out of Texas we could reach into and pull some recruits out of there. And it does feel like there's some excitement back, whatever you want to call it, for Nebraska football, where recruiting is going to become a little easier, because there is some actual belief now that this team's turning around. First time ranked since 2019 after going 2-0. Yep. And, you don't want to oversell it too much. They're 23. They got to beat UNI. Then they got to get through and do as best as they can to get Ohio State. Don't let that number fool them. But you feel pretty good about that. We're going to talk about UNI, but there's still some more breaking news we got to get through. The Pac-12 has survived. It just, everybody thought it was dead. We were down to the Pac.
They just came back. You can't get rid of them.
No, they added Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State. They just might as well get all the state schools in there. What are your thoughts? Pac-12 not giving up yet. They're pushing it back. Now we're up to the Pac-6. Who knows how many more they keep adding here?
You know, it's good for them that some of these schools finally get that recognition. My question is, how long before some of those old Pac-12 teams kind of try and fight to get back there? Because I'm just saying, look, they talking about the first four, teams get a bye. Well, now with the Pac-12 back, the first five teams the first conference championships should get a pass. I mean, I'm not wrong. So if you're USC, if you're Oregon, if you could be the top dog each and every year, regardless of whatever the money is, regardless of whatever, you got a guaranteed spot at least, 1 through 5 if you go and win the Pac-12. You don't have to come across country back and forth the whole year. You don't have to technically deal with the elements because honestly, those bowl games will be in better locations. So it's either going to be a dome or hot weather. You're not really going to play anywhere cold or anywhere bad. So, I mean, it makes it very, very interesting. I kind of want to see, how fast, do they want that old thing back? Honestly, like, good for the Pac-12 of, finding a way. I like the teams that they got there. I don't necessarily think those teams it'll take some time for those teams to kind of compete at the Power 5 level. Will they be successful? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Amongst each other, them playing like, yeah, they might look good. Y'all are perfect matching and whatnot. But when you get matched up with, the Big 12 maybe, or, the Big 10 or the SEC, that might be a slaughter fest. So I'm happy that it's coming back, but I'm anxious to see, how many other teams kind of jump back on ship. You can renegotiate stuff or give, more money with things and whatnot. Let's say, they get a UCLA, Stanford, and Washington back. Okay, well, they might get a bigger piece of the pie because you kind of were the original Pac-12. And you could be, big dog on campus. So it makes things very, very interesting.
Yeah, to me, it's like I get it, right? The obvious answer for a lot of these decisions for all these schools and for the conference is money. That's why the schools left. Money, you see that where they just feel like they're getting the raw end of the deal. Will never be, especially in the era of NIL. That was like the big scare. It's like, how are we going to compete in the era of NIL when the Big Ten and SEC are just eating up everybody and continue to expand their conferences? But yeah, I mean, it's split up. You got teams in the Big 12, teams in the ACC, teams in the Big 10, and nobody in the Mountain West. They thought that was going to be the Pac-2 left. They thought maybe there'll be Mountain West schools, but no, they remained. And now we're sitting here. I don't know. We're going to watch these Pac-12 teams in these different conferences and see which teams really struggle the most. In Oregon, we'll see what it looks like this year, but that might be one of the teams where they banging their head against the wall, like kind of how Nebraska felt earlier on in the Big Ten, where it's like, man, did we just make a horrible mistake and sell our program down the road here? Now, Nebraska
was still winning 9 games.
They were holding on. They're absolutely holding on, but it set a panic. Even though you can make the argument they should have kept Pelini, they were so used to dominating that it set a panic within the fan base. And we might see this with teams, even though like Oregon might win 8-9 games, they might start panic still. Like, I'm curious to see what does the panic look like for some of these Pac-12 schools in these new conferences, especially say you're one of the Pac-12 schools that's in the Big 12, and you can't even compete there and you're getting the brakes beat off of you. Like Colorado, if things just go nightmarishly for them consistently, even though it's not like they're winning a ton of games either way, I'm intrigued to see how all these teams shuffle out into these new conferences. Which one of these conferences do you think is the toughest for the Pac-12 schools to adjust to? And again, the ones they all shred off to.
The Big Ten is not close. Like, I don't really think they didn't get the Nebraska treatment or the Rutgers treatment or the Maryland treatment of coming into the Big Ten. Like, they're honestly, they're getting, kind of brought along, the little brother, oh, let's be nice, this and this and this and that.
Yeah, they got easy.
They're not. Nebraska didn't get a welcome, a nice schedule to the Big Ten. That their first couple years, was difficult, and they still ended up winning 9 games. If you go back and look at Maryland and Rutgers coming into the Big Ten, they got sent to the gauntlet, and they're on at this point in time. That was when it was still the Legends and I can't even remember what the other.
Oh yeah, I know what you're right. It wasn't the
The
East.
leader or whatever. It was still that, and they came in on the opposite side, who had honestly more of the heavyweights. So it wasn't necessarily easy, but we're not going to see really these Pac-12 teams kind of really get a test because they're not playing, a strong Big Ten schedule. Like, yeah, you got a few Big Ten teams, but those should be manageable ones to kind of see you up against certain, like you're not fully getting the Penn State. You're not getting Penn State, Iowa, Nebraska, and Michigan in 1 year. Ohio State schedule ain't easy. You know what I'm saying? Penn State schedule isn't technically an easy Big Ten schedule. Like you at least get some of these heavyweights or these Big Ten teams that has been used to carrying that weight, and Oregon ain't getting that. USC ain't getting that. Washington necessarily ain't getting that. Like, they kind of getting babied into it. So it later on down the line, when they go against some of these topper or better teams or whatnot, they're gonna get blown out.
Yeah,
that's just what it's gonna be. Oregon, you struggled against Idaho. You struggled against. I don't care. You haven't really registered to look like the Oregon you were last year, or the Oregons that when Marcus Mariota was there and you don't necessarily look like that. So with those teams that are used to running fast and everything like that, you hit them in the mouth and they slow down. So you gonna get to bully ball. SEC has bully ball. Big Ten has bully ball. And they can speed things up. They can go up tempo or whatnot, and it might be too much for some of these Pac-12 teams.
I think it's going to be too much for quite a few of them, especially early on. And if you think we're being biased, let's go look at the 2012 schedule. First year in the Big Ten for Nebraska, right? Okay, so it starts off nice. Southern Mississippi. Then you're on the road to UCLA. Shockingly, Nebraska loses on the road to UCLA. I'm hard-pressed to remember what UCLA had going, if it was a great season for them or not. But then you get Arkansas State, Idaho State, 73-7. But then you get Wisconsin. Then you get Ohio State, Northwestern, Michigan State, Penn State. So you got Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State.
You got 4 heavyweights in 5 weeks.
Yep. And then after Michigan State, Penn State, Minnesota, Iowa, and then you get Wisconsin, and then you got to play with, of course, I don't want to talk about that game. That was a tough one. That was the 70-31 game where Wisconsin ran all over.
This is back when Michigan. This is maybe a little bit after Darqueze Dennard, so they might have had Gardner at quarterback. Which, I mean, that Michigan squad wasn't terrible. Michigan State was up and coming. They were the no-fly zone era. You had Ohio State, who was probably coming off of suspension, or was the reason why they got on suspension. Either or, they were a national championship type team. Wisconsin was Wisconsin. They weren't, somebody. You get those 4 in 1 year, your first year in the Big Ten.
And this just tells how close these games are. And again, this is the roster with Taylor Martinez, Amir Abdullah, Kenny Bell.
Probably was on that team.
Yep. Westerkamp, I'm not sure if he was there yet. I think he might have been. Burkhead, yeah, you said Burkhead already. I mean, you're dealing with, this is a great roster of star-studded, and you beat Wisconsin by 3. You beat Northwestern by 1. And people forget, Northwestern, I don't care what you say, that the Northwestern was actually pretty solid back then. They were kind of what they are now. It's like very up and down, but they didn't catch anybody by surprise. You're right. Michigan State was a close one, 28-24. You actually did all right against Penn State. You beat them by 10. Minnesota, you take care of. You beat Iowa by 6, 13-7. And then again, like I said, it's crazy that earlier in the year, Nebraska beats Wisconsin by 3, 30-27. And then the end of the season, they lose at 70-31. I'll never be able to explain the game.
So
they got ugly so fast.
You know what I'm saying? So give Oregon that test. Give USC that test. You can go, like that's what I'm saying. You can go back and look at Maryland. I'm from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So I grew up Maryland being in the ACC and competing. They weren't terrible in the ACC. They moved to the Big Ten. And like for 2-3 years, they were kind of getting slaughtered and pushed around. Same thing with Rutgers. Like that was an easy lick, but they got dragged. USC ain't getting that. Oregon ain't getting that. Like,
We went through these schedules the morning, Pierson-El, and like really none of these teams got a bad schedule.
No, they didn't get the treatment Nebraska got coming into the Big Ten. So it's, am I gonna feel sorry for y'all? No. Am I biased? Yes, because y'all are still playing Pac-12 stuff and expecting to come in the Big Ten and move and do the same, and it's not gonna be that. We've seen, some of these Pac-12 teams, and I've played against, a really good Oregon team with Justin Herbert. They was up on us 14-41 at halftime and didn't score a touchdown the rest of the game and only won by 3. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you start fast and whatnot, but if you get your hands on them or you make it a football game and be physical, those Big 12 teams necessarily aren't like that. There was only maybe 2 teams in the Pac-12 at a point in time that was built like that. That was Washington for a period of time, and that was Stanford for a period of time. And a lot of the Pac-12 teams didn't want to see either one of those teams because it was bully ball. So USC is still the same USC just because they beat LSU. I don't think LSU was that good this year regardless. So I'm not impressed. I don't like, Brian Kelly down there at LSU. I feel like he's out of his element down there.
He looks like it. Those post-game conferences, I mean, I get it. He's frustrated, but he's got to keep his composure a little bit. It's just not a good look for the university, in my opinion.
You beating honestly a not so good LSU team. I'm not surprised with that. Like, You know what I'm saying? And typically USC is the same thing every year. Like I said, the first 5 or 6 games, oh my God, best thing. Then no, they fizzle out. So I'm not. The Pac-12 teams will have to show me more before I'll be like, oh, okay, like y'all got it.
Yeah, it drives me nuts a little bit. And, maybe this is the more fair way to do it. It just kind of pisses me off. It's like, come on, if we're going to talk about these guys, like, look at these powerhouses we're adding to the Big Ten. Treat them like it. Give them a tough schedule. See how they shake out. But, the schedules are pretty flowery. They're not too tough for really any of the new schools joining in. All right, final thing I want to say, just simply because the game's going to start here soon. It's not fair to give predictions as the game starts. We do get the Miami Dolphins Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. I believe this one's at Miami as well.
Dolphins.
Okay. You're down. Is it because the Bills just barely scraped by the Arizona Cardinals, or what's the reasoning behind it?
I'm not so sure with the Bills. I mean, you were struggling with the Cardinals. The Cardinals aren't anything crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand Josh, put them on their back and whatnot. Kyler
Murray did not look good. He was Martin Harrison Jr. multiple times.
I don't know if Josh Allen can play that type of game he played all year and survive till the end.
I agree.
And plus, on top of that, like you have a rebuild on defense. You have a rebuild on offense. We've seen this Miami team. They're lightning in the bottle. They can score quicker than you can get a hiccup out. Like they're that fast. And it's in Miami. Like I understand Miami had a big distraction. Some things that come up last weekend that might spill over early on in the game. But I think all 4 quarters. I think Miami comes up with it.
Yeah, Miami clearly doesn't get distracted. We're not going to talk about the story, but didn't matter. Like it was such a crazy story. And then Tyreek Hill has a hell of a game regardless. The team just seems pretty unfazed. So I'm probably going to roll with the Dolphins too. If I'm a Bills fan, it's like, man, you lost Gabe Davis, you lost Diggs. Now you could argue the Diggs things was doomed to fail because he just looks so unhappy. But, at least keep the vets around Davis. It's not like you're paying him a absurd amount of money. I think you could have kept him on the payroll. I couldn't tell you who your guy is. Maybe Shakir can continue to develop as one of your better wide receivers. But like you said, Josh Allen, eventually he's going to get hurt. Like it's not sustainable. I hope he doesn't, but it just feels like he's going to have to put the team on his back over and over and over again. I'm not very confident, especially that defense that are going to be able to hold Miami.
You've seen that story before in the NFL. Look at Lamar. Lamar first couple of years, he was doing that. You know what I'm saying? And he got hurt. So, and I'm not wishing injuries. Like it's a physical game. Like they changed the game with how you hit quarterbacks. Now you're kind of escaping that safety net, and you're actually, running and putting your body on the line. Oh, it's it's a violent game, and we've seen things. Like I said, I don't think he can necessarily sustain how they won last week all season. That's all I'm saying.
You're not wrong. I mean, if he's a shorter quarterback, he's got multiple concussions. I think the fact that he's so tall helps him out because his helmet's just sitting high enough to where his crown isn't getting bashed in constantly. But yeah, I'm 100% with you. All right, with that being said, that's kind of the quick notes on just what was kind of a crazy news day that wasn't supposed to be. But there's our NFL picks. We both went the Dolphins. There's the craziness with the Pac-12. Some Husker recruiting news on the other side. Husker football versus UNI. We'll talk about what the spread is, if it really matters. And then, of course, what does UNI look like? You know, an FCS school, people are curious. What are the ways they like to attack you? We'll do all of that on the other side. Don't punt hour with former Husker DeMornay Pierson-El.
Plains Cover Crop is your one-stop seed shop. Call us now for spring and summer forages, CRP mixes, and fall cover crop blends. We do farm-specific consulting for practical and efficient seed blends to fit your geography and goals. With a very diverse inventory, we will tailor a blend just for you. We're also looking for contract growers, and we buy and sell rye. Find us online at plainscovercrop.com. Timeless agronomy practices paired with modern technology. East Highway 20 in Orchard and across Nebraska.
You've seen them come and go. Franchise testosterone clinics that pop up and then whoosh, they're gone. These franchise clinics quickly find out it's not easy to compete with Limitless Male. Limitless is locally owned and operated with a flawless protocol that has elevated them to be the best in men's testosterone replacement and sexual performance. By adding GLP-1s, our patients are losing weight in a healthy way. To feel your optimal best, schedule a free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Not many businesses can say they've made it 60 years, but Madsen's Bowling and Billiards can. With 12 bowling lanes and the biggest pool room in Nebraska, where else would you go to enjoy an afternoon or evening? There's a great daily specials like $2 Tuesdays, games of bowling, shoe rentals, draft beers, and tacos, all just $2 each. Have a delicious burger at EJ's Lounge before or after your bowling or pool session, and you'll leave satisfied. Madsen's Bowling and Billiards at 47th and Dudley.
In today's digital landscape, the security of your business is non-negotiable. That's why you need better cybersecurity solutions. At Hamilton, we make it our business to protect your network, data, and digital assets with the latest in cybersecurity technology. Our dedicated team of experts has the technology in place to protect what matters most to you and your business. Stay ahead of cyber threats with better cybersecurity protection. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Riddle's Jewelry is excited to be celebrating 65 years. 65 years of so many incredible memories celebrating with each of your special moments. In celebration of the 65th Riddle's Jewelry anniversary, we will be offering up to 40% off all engagement rings and all diamond fashion jewelry. The excitement doesn't stop there. Riddle's Jewelry is also offering 18 months, 0% interest and $0 down financing on all qualifying purchases. Riddle's Jewelry has always been known for incredible customer service, one of the largest selections of engagement rings, and don't forget about the on-site jeweler. Come celebrate with us at Riddle's Jewelry, your one-stop diamond shop with exclusive Levian jewelry, Pandora Charm jewelry, and more. All at Riddle's inside Gateway Mall.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your lake and forecast for today, we'll see a slight chance of showers and storms this morning. Otherwise, probably the mostly sunny skies expected. An afternoon high around 85. Tonight, mostly clear skies with an overnight low around 58. And tomorrow, mostly sunny skies return. We'll see a high around 77. I'm meteorologist Kyle Kleck for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is the Don't Punt Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, DeMornay Pierson-El.
All right, welcome back in. All right, there he is. I thought I was going to be talking to a wall for this segment. No, we got DeMornay Pierson-El, the former Husker himself. He's joining me, as always, come 7 o'clock on Monday through Thursday for Ticket Weeknights. Teased it on the other side. We're going to talk you and I. We're going to go through some of the spreads and some of the things that are interesting because it is the largest spread for Nebraska, really, since I can remember. I haven't seen a spread this big. It's currently sitting at 30.5 is the spread over UNI. Against UTEP, we saw a pretty large one as well. That one was 27.5, but then UTEP would go on to beat Buffalo and beat Buffalo convincingly. And then we saw what Nebraska did to Colorado. So the Miners won. Colorado won their first game. All the teams we played so far have won all their games outside of Nebraska. This one against UNI, the spread's 30.5. DeMornay Pierson-El, I'm sure you know what they like to do heading into this game. They like to run the ball. They got some outrageous numbers. Their running back, just for food for thought here, Ty Edwards. What's that?
Said he's 6'4", 200 and something pounds. He's a big back, and they got two of them.
Yep. He's got 315 yards on just 30 attempts. I mean, that's on average picking up 10.5 yards. He's picking up a first down and then some on average right now. Now, again, very small sample size, but you said it. He's big. He's not like he's going to be too small to be able to run through some Nebraska defense players if they're not ready to go ahead and be in those gaps and not just be there, but make sure you shoot it and meet him head on. He's going to run guys over. I mean, you got to be careful with this team simply for the fact that if you give them hope and they catch you off guard, even if it's on the offensive side of the ball where you cough up on a stupid fumble or a bad interception, they're going to run the ball. And if they have success doing that and they get up first, then that's when things get a little uncomfortable because then they're just playing keep away from you because they might be good enough to go ahead and do that. DeMornay Pierson-El, what are your thoughts on UNI? The passing game is what it is. I don't think it's overly impressive.
I mean, they're one-dimensional. They're the opposite of what we just went against last week. It's not, sugar-coated or anything like that. They don't like to really throw the ball. Can they throw it? Sure. Is that necessarily their identity? No. What they want to do, they want to get their hands on you. They want to make it a physical game and want to slow down and over time, beat up on you. That's the type of game that they want to make it. So, I mean, with that being said, Nebraska, has to, again, hit him in the mouth. Kind of same mentality, as last week. Be the hammer, not the nail. You're going to have to tackle guys. You're going to have to, shock people, use your hands in the run game. They're a physical team. That says something, about them that, they're a running team. They like, to get down and dirty and, they're coming straight at you. They're running in the A gap. This is what we're going to do. We running off tackle, we running stretch, we running counter, we running zone. That's the type of team. And you know what it is. It's not going to be disguised. It's not going to be hard. It's not going to be hard to see what they're doing. You're going to know what's coming and you have to be able to stop it.
Yeah, their quarterback, just for reference here, like they are very one-dimensional, but their quarterback does a good job of not trying to do too much.
Yeah.
He's got 3 touchdowns, no interception. He's throwing it just above 50%. So again, he's not killing people out there, but the biggest thing, he's not turning the ball over. That's a big deal when you want to play that one-dimensional style of kind of keep away football. We're going to get up on you first and then just run the ball down your throat until you guys can figure out how to stop it. You got any fears that Nebraska's defense is going to struggle to stop the run? I mean, it's a great point that we literally just faced the polar opposite of you and I in Colorado. Now it's going to be turned for that front seven of the defense to kind of make their mark once again here, but in a different way of sacking the quarterback to really be there, make sure they're not overplaying anything, getting caught in play actions, not caught in extra motion in the backfield. Do you feel good about this defense front being able to stop that you and I run game?
Most definitely. I mean, you got 3, guys up front who, they're all 3 disruptive, and they're all 3 disruptive in their own, different ways. So the fact of, even if they want to pull guards or pull tackles or sift tight ends or whatnot, we got guys that use their hand and push people back to knock them off of their track. We have linebackers and safeties that can fill holes. We've seen, Bullock do this. We've seen Isaac do this. So it's not that, I'm afraid of it or anything like that. It's more so we can't let, their offense create steam. This running back, he, not to say he reminds me of Derrick Henry. I'll say his style with what makes Derrick Henry dangerous is once he gets rolling, once he gets started, anything, past the line of scrimmage is very, dangerous or, harder to tackle. But if you hitting this guy in the hole, if you hitting this guy in the backfield before he can get started and whatnot, you're winning that battle. And I think that's going to be the important part of, the D-line showing up, of having him come to the line to where he can't hit his mark. You know what I'm saying? He might have to, stop his feet and go a different way or whatnot, or, get off his track. If you do that and whatnot, things will be successful. I'm very confident in our D-line that they, like I said, will use their hands. They will be disruptive to knock, the opposing guy back instead of having them, assert their dominance and moving them off the ball 2 yards off the line and whatnot.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they want to run the ball here. If they try to push things more out to the outside, understanding. I mean, our defensive front's big enough to where I think they can go ahead. But like you said, if you give Ty Edwards room, say he runs to the outside, he gets one good, hit stick or stiff arms. And if you got, say, Tommy Hill, Buford, they make a bad angle, and all of a sudden he's got some steam, not plus 5-7 yards of steam before he gets that next defender. He's good enough to run through guys. Like that is a guy you absolutely need to watch out for, just because we're the FBS school and they're the FCS school. He's athletic enough, and he'll probably be playing for an FBS school next season if he continues on the trajectory he's on right now, because he's got the size, he's got the speed. It's just a matter of how much more successful can he be as the season continues. So it's going to be fun to watch how Nebraska attacks that. Do you think they cover the spread 30.5? I mean, I never want to talk about that too much, but this isn't an egregious spread. I mean, the Miners was 27.5. They're giving Nebraska 30-plus points on UNI. Is that a fair number?
I mean, I think so. This is, you want to. This is a game for Nebraska. 1, take care of business. 2, you kind of want to see what we've seen in the first game, to where you get depth. Your depth gets experience and in the game for later in the season. That way you understand they can handle themselves and whatnot. So, I mean, I don't think it's too outrageous. We've seen Nebraska score in the second half. We've seen them, play sloppy and whatnot. And that's the first unit, you know what I mean? So giving other guys, hopefully the opportunity to do that, I think it's kind of hitting things right on the head.
Yeah, it's a night game too. That makes things interesting. Like I don't want to make jokes here, but UNI, they're certainly not used to that crowd. I mean, that's a lot. They might not even have enough money in the funds to get speakers that can simulate, 1/100th of that crowd noise that's going to be there. I mean, it's going to be an insane environment. I know it's UNI, but there is this buzz about Nebraska that feels like it's finally back. You're 2-0, and not only are you 2-0, you beat a big rival in Colorado, and you looked really good in both of those games. You have a quarterback an offense that looks like it's clicking, a defense that was dominant last year, doesn't look like they are a step off at all, and looks like they maybe even got better. Tommy Hill certainly looks like he's emerging. So really the only box left to check is special teams. And you can even say there, yes, maybe some worries about the field goals, but everybody else, you feel pretty good outside of, that one return from Horn where he escaped, but he's a phenomenal athlete. He's been doing that to a lot of teams throughout the year. You still want to shore those things up, but there's a lot of areas in special teams that you feel good about too, especially in our punt return instance. I know that was the thing that drove people nuts for the longest time. I'd imagine especially you in your case, because you've seen what it can look like when the blockers know what they're doing and when the punt returner knows when to go ahead and take it and take off and when to stay the hell away. Because that was the other thing. Watch some of those guys where, I think, man, last year, I don't want to give the names out, or 2 years ago, we were fair catching the ball inside the 10 at times, inside the 5 at one point. I think it's just small, idiotic things like that make a massive difference. I mean, that you're making your offense go ahead and that's an entire first down that you're giving away. Now you got to work an extra 10. And it seems like a small thing, but that decides 3 or 7 or 0 points more often than not. And if you want to make that a small thing, you go look at Iowa's, a lot of their offense and how they've been able to be competitive for so long, despite being that offense being quote unquote terrible. The more you talk about it a lot lately, if you win 2 out of 3 phases of the game, you're going to win ball games. And as much fun as it is to make fun of Iowa's offense, they win 2 out of 3 phases of the game. And guess what? They win a lot of ball games.
I mean, it's funny, but it's kind of, it's the small thing, details. The big things are going to handle themselves and whatnot, but it's the small things that can cost you a game. How many times have we seen we've been in 1-score games and one mistake?
Yep.
Or, or 2 little mistakes here and there. And what do you know? That mistake ended up being, like that could have been us, putting the nail in the coffin, but instead it was the nail in our coffin and costing us, a victory.
Yeah. We've seen him way too many times to count. I mean, that's been a lot of my upbringing watching Husker football. As painful as it is to say, like, it's just been, man, a lot of 1-score games. Like I don't take pride in being the best quote unquote 3-win team. To me, that's a joke. That's stupid. Like, don't brag about that. That's a stupid thing to brag about. That means you always made one boneheaded decision to lose the game. It doesn't mean you were like, yes, you push some great teams to the edge, but it also means you were getting in your way so damn much that you completely ruin your season. So like stuff like that, I don't take a lot of pride in. The more I'll ask you, does it feel like Nebraska's finally turning the corner now? I know it's only 2 weeks in, but there is a lot of things to be optimistic about. And if not, how much more do we have to see before we can finally say, you know what, it's happening? Nebraska is turning the corner.
I would say it's a little bit too early for that conversation. Are they headed in the right direction? Yes. Am I seeing a lot of more positive things than negative? Yes. Have they faced, some adversity that, in the years past that would have us tripped up or have us fall in the last couple of steps, before we cross the finish line? Yes. So it's trending in the right direction, but right now, this is where I expected them to be at. Like that win against Colorado, I expected them to win. Did I expect their offense to show up a little bit more? Yes, but that was a dominant, performance. So you should look like that. And it was still, things need to be cleaned up. It was a sloppy second half. A full 4 quarters have yet to been played consistently. You know what I mean? So is it trending up? Yes. Turn a corner. I'm not quite ready to say that just yet. Because you are a superior team. You're supposed to be doing that to teams like that. Now turning the corner, beating Ohio State. You do everything like that. That's turning a corner. That's okay. Now we talking. Now it's okay. Sky may be the limit. You know what I mean? So that's how I kind of grade that scale or whatnot. They're not doing anything that I didn't expect them to not do. I expected them to handle those games like that. I expected them to be dominated and win those type of games. So that's not turning a corner for me. That's trending upward, and you're taking, progressive steps in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a fair point because that's a game people circled all year long. It was like, okay, first part, let's see what it even looks like before we get to Ohio State. Like, yes, this all looks like teams. You look at the over-unders for a lot of those teams. They're all not very high. Nebraska's probably going to be favored in most, if not all of them, especially at this point going forward. You probably are going to be favored in all these games. So now it's do what you're supposed to do. And oddly enough, that's heading in the right direction simply because Nebraska's always done what they're not supposed to do. In recent years, despite being favored in a lot of games, they find a way to drop those too. So I think Ohio State, if you win that one, you could finally have the conversations of, has this team finally arrived back to the big stage? Feinbaum made those comments in the preseason. How about you just go to a bowl game? You're not one of the big boys at the table, paraphrasing here. But clearly the national media hasn't looked at Nebraska that way, and I don't think they ever will until Nebraska said, quote unquote, you got to beat one of those blue bloods outside of yourself. Because we've beaten one blue blood a lot, and that's Nebraska. We got to beat the other blue bloods now. Stop shooting our own foot. And it does feel good. But the penalties in that second half, was that more of Nebraska losing focus, or do you think it's just bad officiating? It could be a mixture.
I think a little bit of both. I think, better execution kind of keeps you away from that, kind of in those moments, slipping and kind of letting the environment kind of get you out of, what kind of got you there. And then some of those were bad calls, like that touchdown with the guy falling. That was BS. Like I don't mean, the guy was not he was not going to make the tackle. 2, he didn't affect the play at all. 3, he was beat and a guy is falling on top of him already down the field. Like it's only so much. Like he wasn't pulling the guy; he was literally pushing the guy to the ground. That's not that like that,
for crying out loud.
That's let's grade these refs. You know what I'm saying? That was a bad call. But some of these other things are, it's half and half. I'm not gonna put it all on the kids because at the end of the day, if you make it that close and you leave it for somebody else to make that type of judgment, you see what can happen. So if you do what you're supposed to and you set how things are supposed to be set, and that's not, it's not any, you don't leave any chance for that, you won't be in that position. And then 2, the refs make mistakes too. Everybody makes mistakes. It happens. So it's half and half.
Yeah, and it's nice to use the refs. It's like, well, we would have dominated that game if the refs didn't get involved. And it's like, yes, there was some plays where certainly it felt like the wrong call, but on Colorado's side as well, I mean, they matched us with penalties. So you really could have, if you played clean on top of that and then watch Colorado rack up penalties, now you're probably still going to get a couple. We saw a couple of those phantom calls. But if you play clean the rest of the way, that's a dominant performance. I mean, that's you watching Colorado get flag after flag. If you play clean, like I said, a couple phantom calls, probably going to get those still. But then, we're talking Nebraska wins kind of similar to what it was against UTEP. And that would say a lot. Not only about Nebraska, but Colorado as well. Like what's going on over there. But I mean, you can seriously get to a score that's very close to 40-7. And it does make you think, is that going to be a problem going forward? Do you have faith in Matt Rule and staff that come UNI, come Illinois, and marching forward, that this team is going to look similar to last year? Because I give last year's team credit. They cleaned up penalties a lot, which is something we hadn't seen in a very long time.
I think so. The things that we kind of seen that first game technically wasn't the mistakes we seen that second game. It was a little bit different. Again, it's only, within the first 4 weeks, you kind of figure out things, Yep. So I definitely think, that will be fixed. Certain things will be cleaned up and whatnot in these next coming weeks. Against UNI, you want to play as perfectly clean game as you can, under, 0 penalties, 0 things that get touchdowns called back and whatnot. You want to play a clean 4-quarter game. And, that's the mindset of moving forward. If you do that for 4 quarters of all dominating, no shooting yourself in the foot, I mean, you'd be surprised as when you look up at the scoreboard and see exactly what it's supposed to look like.
All right, DeMornay, wrapping things up here. Go ahead and give me your score prediction for UNI, because it's the last time I'll talk to you Well, maybe Saturday if you're around Lincoln area again, but at least not until the Don't Punt Hour, until next Monday. What are you thinking? Do they cover the spread, and what's the actual prediction?
45-12.
45-12. All right.
I just think, that's what it's going to be. I think if you run up the score like that, again, your second and third team will be kind of in. And, it's not to say mistakes are bound to happen, but you kind of have to get out there and kind of get those experience in or whatnot. People might be confused or whatnot. So I think that's where, some of those extra points come in at.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. You took my thought exactly. I was like, originally when I was thinking about this, I was like, you know what? We might get the first shutout. But then I was thinking, I'm like, you're right. If it really gets that bad, we're going to have second, third stringers, and Ty Edwards is still going to be in there. And if you take a bad angle on him, he might be off to the house, and you're leaving a safety out there. Even though Nebraska's got some bigger safeties, Edwards is probably still going to win that battle. So I'm not too far off. I'm going to give them 10. I'm going to go pretty similar to what I even had last week as well, because I think our run defense is, weirdly enough, even the stronger part of our defense, even though the pass defense was incredible against a Colorado team where that's all they want to do. Part of that, Colorado is incredibly predictable. UNI, I think, is going to be really predictable as well. They might throw on a couple of trick plays that might get Nebraska. So I'm not too far off. I'm going to go 41-10. I think, at some point, maybe they get a trick play in there. Or
and you know it's bad if they got to pull tricks out to kind of beat you. Like like that's okay. That's all they got, and from there, it might go downhill. So it's a good and a bad thing when you start seeing trick plays.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Again, that's our predictions on UNI. Don't go anywhere though. We'll keep taking weeknights rolling for you. And the Don't Punt Hour, we'll see you tomorrow at Pierson-El. Again, next Monday, same time as always, 7 o'clock. Good morning. Appreciate the time. We'll do it again next week.